Hi, this is Miguel Murphy, and I'm here with Miami fellow Suze Guillaume and attorney Marlon Hill. And this version of our conversation is going to dissect the amendments, the 13 amendments that will appear on your voting ballot this year, whether you choose to vote early or by mail or on election day. And I'll ask Marlon to, give an overview of why amendments.
Well, not only amendments that are going to be on this ballot, Miguel. We're so glad that you're watching this episode of Miguel's program, and our mission is to help you prepare, to be informed, and to be a confident voter before you go to the ballot box, the polls for early voting or November the 6th. This is a midterm election, Miguel, in 2014. It's the election that happens before a presidential election year, which was in 2016. So in 2014, most voters are really not paying much attention. And if you are 18 years old or 19 years old, you were in middle school at that time. Or if you are now getting ready to finish Miami-Dade College, you were just leaving high school at the time. And, I used to be in college, but I'm now practicing attorney. I'm married, so I may care about different things. So when you're 20 years old or when you're 47 years old, you have different interests or different values, or you may care about some of the same things, right? Mm-hmm. So on the ballot, you're going to be voting on U.S. Senator, who's going to be your next governor, your next attorney general, commissioner of agriculture, your next state representative, your next state senator, who some of your judges are going to be, circuit court, those complicated cases over 15,000, county court, like traffic court, the people's court. And then you have the 12 amendments that are going to be on the ballot. There were going to be 13, and then the Florida Supreme Court struck one of them because the language was just too complicated. So you may ask the Constitution, why do we amend the Constitution? The Constitution is the governing document for how our state operates, who has the powers and the duties to do what. It's the document that you go to see how is the governance of the state of Florida. And it's reviewed every 20 years to see how can we improve the governance, or are there specific issues we want to permanently put into the Constitution. And sometimes the citizens say, we want to amend the Constitution, and they start a petition drive. You have to get a certain number of certified signatures in order to put the question on the ballot. The legislature may decide they want to put something on the ballot. That's the second way that you can amend the Constitution. And then the third way is that the Constitutional Revision Commission, which is convened every 20 years, they discuss different amendments over annual year period of various meetings that they have across the state, taking testimony from citizens and various stakeholders, and then they make recommendations. So we have 8 amendments that were proposed by the Constitutional Revision Commission, 3 by the Florida legislature, and 2 by citizen initiative. Some of them have to do with taxes, some of them have to do with specific issues, offshore drilling, etc. So we want to help you to go through these amendments fairly quickly so that when you read them, or read them aloud, see if it makes common sense to you. Is it addressing one question or multiple questions, right? Because if you vote yes on the question, whether it has one question or multiple questions, you are voting to have it approved and to be put into the Constitution permanently. And then the 60% of us, meaning both Suze and I, have to agree out of the 3 of us in order for it to become permanently a part of the Constitution.
Absolutely. So Suze and I will take turns sort of presenting the amendments, Amendment 1, and then Suze will present 2 and vice versa.
Okay.
So what does Amendment 1 say? Increased homestead property tax exemption.
So every amendment has a title. So you read the title, and the title says Increased Homestead Property Tax Exemption. What is that? So if you own a home and it's worth over $100,000, you are entitled to a tax exemption every year on not paying an assessment on the $50,000 that's in the Constitution right now. This amendment is saying we want to increase that from $50,000 to $75,000. The supporters say, hey, I deserve a break, additional break. And the critics say, well, if you increase the tax exemption, there's less money for my city, my local city, for public services.
Right. Now, Amendment 2, limitations on property tax assessments. What
This is another property tax assessment amendment, but it has to do with your non-homestead home and commercial properties, right? So basically, right now, this is already in place in terms of capping the property value assessment at 10%. But they're trying to make this permanent by putting this in the Constitution. The critics say that if you put this in the Constitution permanently, it will be limiting government to be able to generate funds and have more flexibility. So we're voting, recommending yes on this one because you want to make it permanent. If you don't believe that you should have more flexibility, you would vote no.
So Amendment 3, voter control of gambling in Florida.
You want to permanently put in the Constitution that voters should have a say if there's going to be gambling or not. That's the bottom line with this one. Or if you want to leave it up to the legislature, you would say no.
No. And so I think we all want to say
No.
No?
Yeah,
What?
Susie? No? All right, amendment number 4, a very popular one. This one is otherwise known as the Voting Restoration Amendment. You're convicted of a felon, whatever that felon was, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 3 years ago. You spent your time, you paid your debt to society, you were in jail, you were convicted. You can't vote no. Over 1.4 million Floridians right now can't vote. One of 4 states in the entire United States of America that still has this this restriction on folks. The supporters say that this process takes too long to get your story.
Yeah.
And this one is a categorical yes to be ratified. If 60% of Floridians don't say yes on this one, I'd be very concerned about where we think we should be in terms of just our sense of justice.
So number 5, Amendment 5, supermajority vote required to impose, authorize, or raise state taxes or fees.
Yeah, another amendment having to do with the issue of taxes permanently in the Constitution. This one, if you vote yes, it basically says that you would make it more difficult to raise taxes than cut them. And the critics say that this really allows outdated and wasteful tax breaks to be protected by the powerful. I'm saying no on this one.
No?
No.
So Amendment 6.
So Amendment 6, rights of crime victims, judges.
You know-
Already complicated.
Yeah, this is one of the amendments that has multiple questions having to do with victims' rights and also issues related to judges. It's another one of those bundled amendments. You may have seen the TV commercials with the criminal that looks like Miguel, coming after Susie and she's like really sobbing and she, it tugs at your heartstrings, right? And yes, victims should have rights, just in the same way that you have the right to remain silent. Anything that you say or do, when you get your ready, right? This is trying to put victims' rights permanently into the Constitution, but it's also addressing the retirement age for judges and whether or not a judge can defer to an administrative agency to interpret the law. This one has multiple questions bundled together, recommending no.
Okay.
But if you care strongly about victims' rights,
right.
you would vote yes. And if you vote yes for victims' rights, you're also
voting
voting
yes
yes for the
for
entire amendment.
So Amendment 7 is also bundled, right? First responder and military member survivor benefits, public colleges and universities.
Well, this one actually has 3 bundled questions in one, having to do with benefits for first responders, military members, a supermajority vote for raising university fees, and also the structure of community colleges in the ballot. If you care strongly about one of those 3, you vote yes.
You vote yes.
If it's too many issues being addressed at the same time and they should have been broken out, then when we have the next public hearing about amending the Constitution, you can advocate for putting a single question on the ballot. If you care strongly about community college structures or university fees, you can put it on the amendment when it comes back around. I say no on this one.
Okay, Amendment 8, school board term limits and duties.
And
This one was struck from the ballot. So, they wanted it to be, but the language was too
Fine.
complicated, and the Supreme Court says, no, it was pulled. So on your ballot, your amendments are going to jump from 7 to 9.
Important to know.
So what's Amendment 9?
Amendment 9 has to do with the prohibition of offshore oil and gas drilling and prohibiting Miguel from vaping in his administrative office permanently in the Constitution. So if you care strongly about one or both of those, you'd vote yes.
You'd vote yes. And so we were saying this is one of those that kind of align with each other to a certain extent.
In terms of the air quality, in terms of our environment, yes. So this is someone who cares about the environment would vote yes on this one.
Yeah.
So Amendment 10, state and local government structure and operations.
This is another one that's a little bit complicated because it bundles 4 different proposals in one. 4 different proposals in one. Why would they do that, right? It does not make any sense. The Constitutional Revision Commission may need to do some vaping.
Yeah.
The supporters say that changing the date to the Constitution would allow the legislatures a little bit more flexibility. And they also say that some places already elect county officials, appoints the sheriff, etc. This one has too many questions in one, in my opinion, and it also takes away control granted to counties or local governments so that they can respond to local conditions. Our recommendation is to vote no on Amendment number 10.
So Amendment 11.
Property rights, removal of obsolete provision, and criminals. We got 3 on Amendment 11.
Yeah, this one repeals some obsolete language in the Constitution, but it also repeals a provision saying that changes to a criminal statute are not retroactive. This is another bundled amendment in Amendment number 11. Recommending no is just too
It's
convoluted. Amendment number 12.
Yeah.
This has to do with lobbying and the abuse of office by public officials. This would prohibit a public official, Miguel, from lobbying for pay during their term in office, right? This, permanently in the Constitution. Don't you think that should already be in the law? That's already in the law that they should be the law. And they would also be allowed to use their public office for disproportionate benefit. The supporters say this would expand the rules of ethics in lobbying and public office. And the critics say that the current laws on the books about lobbying are enough. We don't need to put this in the Constitution. We're voting no on this one because the law is already there on the books.
So final amendment.
Final one has to do with our animal lovers out there.
Amendment 13.
What are we going to do next? Are we going to have Cocker Spaniel racing or pit bull racing? This one bans permanently dog racing, the ability to wager on dog racing permanently in the Constitution. Ask your kids about this one. If they tell you no, I'll be very surprised. This one is probably going to be a yes because we should not be voting yes on permanently having greyhounds be racers, and it's cruel and inhumane in terms of the treatment of greyhounds. So those are the 13. Those are the 13 amendments. Your plan right now is to get ready to vote. What should you do? Go and download your sample ballot. Very simple process. Yeah. Go to the voter lookup site link at your Miami-Dade County Supervisor of Elections or Broward County if you live there. Download your sample ballot. Put in your last name, date of birth, and your house number, right? You can also check your voter status, your party affiliation. You could be independent, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, whatever your registration is, also tells you where your precinct is. And if you can also request your vote by mail ballot. If you're going to be busy with school, working on a term paper, or working, or even traveling, you can request a vote by mail ballot all the way up until October 31st. Vote by mail ballots have started to be mailed out to the public this week. If you want to wait till early voting, that starts on October 22nd. You can go to any location, Miami-Dade North Campus, Miami-Dade Kendall Campus, FIU. You can go downtown the Government Center by the Metro. You can go any of those locations. You can vote during the hours of early voting. And then in the last option, you missed vote by mail, you missed early voting, November the 6th.
November 6th.
Big day. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You need to be in line by 6:59 and 59 seconds. If you're in line, no matter how long the line is, you should be allowed to vote. The key is making a plan to vote, getting information. We're going to be providing some links, Miguel,
Absolutely.
of where you can do your research.
Sample ballots, what we discuss, the amendments, what the critics say, what the supporters say, and ultimately you'll make a decision, right? That is in your best interest. I do want to highlight that 18-year-olds, college-going students, the next time that you can vote on the Constitution would be
20
20
years.
20 years.
So,
So this is
yeah.
like
Decisions
Part
that
of
would
our
that
life.
would permanently in the Constitution that would affect how the government operates, the powers and the duties, whether it has to do with taxes, dog racing, offshore drilling, restoring a convicted felon's rights. You're permanently put it in the Constitution because you feel it's the right thing to do. If 60% of us say yes, then it will be ratified and become law by January 1st. We are counting on you. Your interests and values are on the ballot. If you don't vote, you're basically giving up those interests or values.
Right.
If you don't vote, you're basically silencing your voice. You may not care about certain races, but every single vote counts. We promise you, as long as you do your homework and you fill out your sample ballot, it's going to take you less than 5 minutes to vote. Less than 5 minutes. It's almost less than 5 minutes to get to class from building 3 to building 1. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Absolutely. So thank you, Marlon. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
I wish you the best at the polls. Hopefully we would have made that easier for you to digest and made you more aware of what your options are on voting day. All right. Till next time, take care.
Let your voices be heard. Be election
Yes.
ready.
Election ready.